As you can see from my no fluff, no frills video, I'm going to just sit in the car. I've just walked for about 10 minutes, I think. Well, in total it's about 15 minutes. My little prolapse disc can't decide whether it is fixing or not fixing. So, walked, stopped, had a reset. Some guy outside the school that my two are at asked me if I was okay. First time in the first 4 or 5 weeks since I've done this that I've had to go out and walk and reset a little bit. Has somebody actually said, "You're right, you're kind of crouching against a fence." He asked me if I was feeling lightheaded. I responded, "No, I'm not lightheaded. I've just got a prolapse disc and it's just a bit of pain. It'll go once I've crouched down." That was it. So a nice interaction. And it's funny because these things highlight kind of the rejection sensitivity part of an ADHD brain, because at the same time that he's asking me genuinely, "Are you okay?" my brain is going, "He thinks you're a paedophile because you're crouching down outside of school." No, I've got a prolapse disc, that's why I'm crouching down. I had a full argument with him inside my head about the fact that all I was doing was resetting my pain, and I needed to stop because the pain after the last 8 minutes of walking had gone down my right leg, my bum cheek, my hamstring, my calf, into my semi-numb foot. It was excruciating, and I know now from a whole month of this that I just need to squat down and it presses a reset button and I can walk for another 5-10 minutes. But obviously that wasn't his intention. He wasn't asking me about should I be crouching down outside of school. He was checking genuinely if I was okay, and that is rejection sensitivity. And I'm going to write an article, I think, in LinkedIn today. I've decided, I'm going to post a load of content to LinkedIn that is more about information, and put it on the company page. But today's is about kind of there's a debate that's ongoing in the ADHD community about the superpower narrative, and it's a fascinating one because when I first started looking into ADHD, because my boy is ADHD and we were getting him kind of set up and understood and trying to get him diagnosed, there was a lot of reference to the ADHD superpowers. All this creativity, this higher plane thinking, this multifaceted thinking, this ability to react calmly in difficult situations, even if you can't react calmly in easy situations. There's a lot of talk about reframing it as a superpower, and I really bought into that. I bought into the fact that as ADHD people, we are blessed with a funny kind of foresight, a kind of preparation of things that could happen, an ability to look at eventualities, to think about more than one thing at a time. And I thought, yeah, I buy into that. That's a really good way of looking at ADHD. But recently I've seen a lot of things all over all sorts of social media and in the news and all the rest of it. It's not a superpower, it's a hindrance, it's a vulnerability. And I was like, but this is my whole framing for 2.5-3 years of what ADHD is. I've bought into this framing that it's a good thing to have as long as you can tame it. There's a beast in there, and it's the same as anything. It's yin and yang. It's good versus evil, and I think in ADHD people that's probably more prevalent than it is in anywhere else. So this article I'm going to write for LinkedIn, regardless of how many kind of views it gets at this early stage in the business's life, is about continuing that frame. It's not ignoring the vulnerabilities of ADHD, because they are widely documented. It's about understanding how you can appreciate and accept the vulnerabilities of ADHD in such a way that you are able to go, but that enables me to harness my superpowers. because I want to control the narrative. Do you know what? Yeah, it is exhausting. It is exhausting trying to control an ADHD narrative or a neurodivergent narrative. Anybody with any kind of neurodivergence that is trying to just get along in life will understand and appreciate that. Because this world has been built on the premise of neurotypicality. And that's not because I think, it's not because I think people are, there's a lot of neurotypicals. I think that's the wrong word for it. I think it's because neurodivergence, the common thing with seemingly with all neurodivergence is that there is a belief of how they think people think they should act and behave, how everybody should think and be act. And if everybody is of the same opinion of how other people should think everybody should act and behave, then you create this myth that neurotypicality exists. I don't even know if it's a word. But in my mind it exists. Neurotypicality exists, but it only exists in the minds of the neurodiverse who believe that everybody else think they should behave in a different way. Does that make sense? I think it does. Yes, it does. It makes sense. So, where does it go? And I think that's why I went into coaching. I went into coaching to make sure that people were framing it correctly. You know, just because you've got a superpower doesn't mean you can ignore your vulnerability. You know, I take, for example, you know, you look at Superman. Superman's the greatest sign of that. Christopher Reeve is the greatest sign of that. The superpower that Superman had, so many superpowers. He came down to Earth from Krypton. He's super strong. He's got laser vision. He can see through things. He can hear conversations from miles away, stop speeding trains, fly around the world, make it turn the other way so it goes backwards in time. All of those things, massive superpowers. And he's going, yeah, you know what, I'm superpower. But then somebody discovers kryptonite. Kryptonite is his vulnerability. You're not going to eradicate the vulnerability just because he's got superpowers. He has to learn how he's going to deal with it, how he's going to identify that kryptonite is close to him. And he does, you know, I think in Superman 3? Don't know. That's for the older viewers of this. People are gathering around the car. This is where my RSD really kicks in, because I then go, oh fuck, they're going to think I'm a knob sat in my car talking to myself. Is my phone visible enough? Anyway, so reframing it. So accept your vulnerabilities. Reframe that acceptance into, I understand what they are, what's going to trigger them, and I know then I need to get some tools as to how I manage that. You know, so things like procrastination, that's my biggest pet peeve. I can sit there staring at a phone watching reels go by, as everybody does, and in my mind I'm not actually watching the reel. In my mind I'm saying, why are you fucking sat there watching reels when you should be creating content, learning courses, attracting customers, trying to make some money, trying to help somebody, trying to make somebody else feel better. You know, there's all of those things that I should be doing. And then I find that I've not even watched the reel, and then I press play again for a second time because I missed it the first time, and it's probably something pretty funny. Probably something my wife has sent me, and she's found it amusing, so amusing that she sent it to me. So I think, well, I must find it amusing, so I'll have to watch it again. My son does this, you know, he'll watch a YouTube short 3, 4, 5 times before he's finally got it. And that's because, as I understand now, his brain isn't actually necessarily watching what is in front of him. As annoying as it is, you know, for us as a parent to go, you're gonna flip it, put another one on. You know, he'll sit and watch it for hours, and actually it's probably because he's thinking about something else. You know, he's about to go into a new year at school. There's a lot going on, a lot of change, a lot of difference, sleepovers, all that sort of shenanigans, and he has to deal with that. So he's obviously going through that in his mind. He doesn't want to appear weaker than any of the other boys at school, so he's not going to tell anybody about it. But when he's watching these reels, he's able to go in and start processing it. And that's massive, you know, that's huge. That's what you've got to do. Any kind of neurodivergence, anybody with a brain who has to think about stuff, you know, when you know a vulnerability, then you've got to think about it and actively, proactively, consciously adjust to it, you know. So my procrastination, that's where I started with this. My procrastination I believe is on another level, because it doesn't just hit me at a certain point. It's not just when I'm having a poo. I can be sat down at the office chair and my mind will gear me towards, oh, there's something you can use as your tool to avoid doing the thing that you don't want to do. So again, pick up my phone, pick up my guitar, use something else, but when I get going, I've got a really creative mind. I can write something out and it makes sense, and people go, oh, that's interesting, that's really good. I get that, I feel that. I'm good with people. When I talk to people, they tend to buy into what I'm saying, even though I will actively tell myself they haven't, and they are just making it up, or they're being kind, or there's some kind of conspiracy going on. But these are the things that live in the back of your brain. But you've got to go, do you know what? No, not today. I'm going to pretend for a moment that I do have these superpowers, and I'm going to use these superpowers for the greater good. Because, maybe I can fly around the world and save someone's life one at a time. Maybe I can do all of that stuff without having to barricade myself into this rejection sensitivity view. Do you know what? This sitting and talking to a camera is quite cathartic, because you're not just ruminating, you're not just setting it sail inside your brain and then letting it take over everything else. Because it's the rumination that stops you focusing on the outside world, but it allows it to escape out. Your mouth's a hole, so let the shit that's in your head escape through the hole like a sewage system. So, superpowers. If you want to embrace the superpowers that you get with neurodivergence, because you do have them, whether you like it or not, you've got to learn what they are, learn how to harness them, learn about your vulnerabilities, and put something in place that stops your vulnerabilities being available to abuse. And that's not available to abuse by everybody else. That's available to abuse by you. Do you remember the cartoons where you got Tom and Jerry, and you get Jerry, and on one shoulder of Jerry, you've got good Jerry, angel, and then on the other shoulder, you've got bad Jerry, devil, and they're at constant battles with each other. Well, that is, I know about ADHD because I've got it and I've researched it to hyperfocus glory land. But you've got those two arguing on your shoulder about what is the right course of action and what is the fun, brilliant, exciting course of action. And you've got ADHD. Your exciting course of action is to create a situation whereby perhaps everybody else is in fight or flight mode and you then don't have to be, and it gives you a sense of ease. You live for the moments that are harsh. You live for the moments that are difficult emergency situations, because those are the ones that you feel most calm in, because you can react and deal with them. Superpower. You don't like the quiet because you think that there's other contemplations going on. It's weird. It's not, it's kind of almost neurotic, this RSD. I go back to rejection sensitivity dysphoria, RSD a lot. I think that's another one of my major vulnerabilities. I look at, my son went to a birthday party at the weekend. Go back 2 years. He just, go to a party. The build up to go into a party would be horrendous. He would be agitated. He would play up. He would shout and scream. You wouldn't get to the bottom of what was causing it. He would just act up. And then you'd get there to the party and he'd close down. And you couldn't get him into the group, into the activities for love nor money. He would just cling. But this week, he's coming to the end of an early year at school, and he's been at the school for a few years now. He's built some friendship groups. He's got a reputation for being great at football. He's a good friend. He's a normal lad. He's got his medication. And you know what? He was the one who was with his friends, engaging socially, beautifully, straight in, playing football, best kicks, helping kids out when they needed to be. And I was the one who was upstairs thinking of the excuses as to why I wasn't talking to people. And it's because I have that rejection. I think, oh God, I've got to take the kids to a party and I've got to be social with these people that I don't even really know, and they're probably not going to get me, and I'm going to say something stupid, and I'm going to say something, inappropriate, and people are going to go, oh, Teddy's dad's a bit of a knob, So I've already got that going around in my head. So he's actually now jumped ahead of me. He's now got his superpower. Maybe that's because he knows those people better. But he's got that ability now, you know. And one of the kids who's a couple of years older than him has said, oh, he's my favourite from that year. He's my favourite because he's great at football, he's funny, he does this, that and the other. And I was watching him and I was thinking, I need to get some strength from this. I need to get some visibility from him and the way he acts in this situation now, and start to push myself into it. I'm great when people come up and talk to me and they go, hi, how you doing? Mind if we sit here? No, that's great. No, let's have a chat. But if it's about me going up to somebody and saying, hi, how you doing? You know, how's the house coming on? Is it doing well? I'm not into that. I'm not into that. The small talk fucking pisses me off. Hate small talk. Because, like, you know, if you're going to start small talking at me, my brain's going to be going off and doing what it wants to do. It doesn't matter. I'm going to be thinking about, oh, the next article, the next video, how am I going to get this level of attention onto a piece of my post, or, you know, so that I generate a lead that can then become a qualified conversation that can blah, blah, blah. I'm not interested in how's your day, how's the weather, where are you going on holiday this year? Couldn't give a fucking toss. And so I can accept that. Do you know what I mean? I don't have to feel guilty about the fact that I don't like small talk. It's not that I don't like the people. I love the people. They're a lovely bunch of parents at this school. But I'm not into small talk. Come up and talk to me and we'll make some hashed attempts at small talk, and I'll probably like it. And you're a lovely person, but for me to initiate it, it's just not going on. It doesn't mean I'm a shit human, which is what I used to think. It means I'm accepting of my own condition. That's my kryptonite. Not shy. I'm not an introvert. I just know that I'll say something fucking inappropriate and it'll come out wrong, you know, and people will go, keep your distance. Well, that's the noise that I tell myself. Anyway, so that was it. That was just a little start to my YouTube video journey, to talk about superpower versus vulnerability, and the fact that my coaching programs are designed really to get you thinking about accepting your vulnerability and using them to empower your superpower. That sounds good, doesn't it? I might leave it on that note. So whatever year you're watching this, have a great day.